Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Josh's Corner. On this episode, we're going to be reviewing Anike's latest project, self-titled Anike. Anike, formerly known as Wande, Nigerian-born, Texas-raised Christian hip-hop artist, a part of the infamous label Reach Records. I think their reputation kind of precedes themselves. And Reach Records has been very busy this summer, and they kicked it off with Limo Blaze, and their most recent project was Holvey. But the project that came out in between both of those projects was this self-titled project from Anike. It's been 4 years since she dropped her debut project, Exit. And the question that must be answered is what is Anike going to sound like now? Obviously, she underwent the name change from Wande to Anike, and I think when I heard her describe it, it's a pretty beautiful reason for why she's changing her name. And then when you see just how personal and to her that is, it's definitely something I'm on board for. But with a name change, will this bring about a new sound, or will this bring about a progression in that sound? Well, I'm here today to answer all of those questions. So, as always, we're going to talk about the theme. I'm going to talk about my favorites. I'm going to talk about my least favorite song. And then I'm going to give, is this gospel-centered, and what my final score is. So, as for the theme of this project, I think the theme is all over the place. There's not really one central idea present in the album other than honoring God and honoring Christ, right? But I think there's so many different ideas going on in here. I think if I had to just say like a couple of them, there is the fact that there is this new person, Anike, if you will, and kind of expressing how this is who she is, and so more so getting into her identity. But I would also say you have plenty of tracks that are just purely glorifying God, as tracks such as Yahweh, tracks such as Make Me New, so plenty of other songs on here as well. I think in addition to these tracks, you also have themes of just like relationships and how certain relationships function, right? That's another theme of the project, and how to bring those relationships underneath the headship of Christ. You also have plenty of bangers on here. You have plenty of slow tracks. You also have, since she's from Nigeria, you also have plenty of Afrobeat that's present on here. And if you listen to the review of the Limo Blaze project, you would know that I actually appreciated some of the new sounds on there, but you also would know that for me, Afrobeat is one of those genres that's oversaturated, and I think it's overproduced. And I think whenever Limo Blaze stripped back some of the overproduction and he went with this more raw or more artsy aesthetic of the genre, I think it really stood out and served him well on that project. But that's enough of that. That's all that there really is for the theme of this project. Now, let me tell you about my favorite tracks. For my favorites, I think you'll see a constant theme. They almost all sound very similar, and I think that's because Anike on this project is hitting on an idea that I wish she would have explored more on this project, and that is in the pop genre. Or I don't know if you want to call it pop or if you want to call it R&B, but I think it's potentially a little bit of both. Because I think when you listen to a track like... when you listen to a track, I'm trying to remember if I think it's Wild and Free. Wild and Free has this very R&B sound, but I think you have other songs on here that are more pop-centric. Obviously, you have one of the lead-up singles to this project, In the Light, which was a great song. It's probably one of my favorite songs of that year, and I thought that I'm happy to see that song made it on the project. But you also have other songs that sound like that, so I think that's a great direction that she's going with this project with some of the songs on here. So getting into my favorites, I would say, just to kick it off, the song Again and Again, amazing song. I think that this is one of my top 3 favorite tracks from the entire album. I love the What Up RG feature. I feel like it adds so much to the track. It fits what Up RG's sound is. And I also just love the structure of this. I love the hook. We about to go and do it again and again. Like, I just love that part of the hook. The hook is very catchy. It stands out. Clark D did a good job of producing that song. So Again and Again is one of my favorites. I would also say another song, going to that whole pop point, Have Fun is an amazing song. I love this song, Have Fun. I think that she should continue to explore more of that pop sound, whether that be dance pop or hyper pop or whatever it be. I think just continuing to explore that sound is something that it lends really well to her artistic abilities, right? So I really love Have Fun. I just mentioned In the Light. In the Light's a great song. All Around, another one of those songs that fits that aesthetic. And interestingly enough, you have a producer on All Around that was also on In the Light, the producer Juberlee. And if you don't know who that is, Juberlee's actually produced quite a few tracks for secular rap. In fact, I believe, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I believe he produced for Playboi Carti a little bit back when he was making that Whole Lot of Red era stuff. So I don't find it coincidence that Juberlee's on All Around in the production credits, and then Juberlee also pops up in the Light, because these two songs have that pop sound that I was getting at. In the Light almost sounds very much like something that would have seamlessly fit onto the Black Panther soundtrack. But then it's just elevated to a higher quality past just something that would be on a soundtrack. It's actually a great song. So In the Light, All Around is another one of those favorites for me. I would say you have back-to-back bangers on here with Send That and Heavenly. Send That's a great song. Lecrae's feature is great. You have Juberlee back again on the production credits, doing an amazing thing for the production of this album. Love the hook, Send That Thing Up. And I love the gang vocals that come in on the chorus part. I think that's awesome. Then you get the Heavenly song, and you get Hulvey's wonderful feature. I just love that refrain, because you're so heavenly, 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 Father. Like, that's just such a catchy refrain. What a wonderful song that is. Anike delivers a pretty great performance on that as well. So another one of the songs that stands out for me and it would be in my favorites. Another song I would also add, I would say it's a standout, but not necessarily a favorite, is the song Wild and Free. I think I don't particularly care for that part of the chorus. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not a big fan of that. I find that to be a lot of filler, and it doesn't really add much. And it's to me, I don't know. It's just me. It makes me cringe a little bit, but everything else in that song is great. And so I wouldn't say it's a favorite, but definitely a standout. And also you have another producer on here that was on a previous track, Slick Music. Another one of those dudes who's actually produced for Ariana Grande in the past on her, I believe, one of her initial albums that she did. And so they've definitely brought on some heavy hitter producers to help out Anike with the soundscape of this project. But so Wild and Free would definitely be a standout, but not a favorite. On the contrary, though, New Day is a song I would say is a favorite. And I'm just really loving that production. And on this one, so most of the project is produced by Clark D. But then you have this track that has no Clark D production, but it has Leslie Johnson and Alexandria Dollar, who is with Reach Records. And this song is a great song. The feature is amazing. The Anike performance is great. The structure of the song is great. I mean, there's not too much to hate on that song about. I mean, you would have to just be a massive hater to hate that song. That song is just straight ear candy. Great song, great concept, good execution. And then I would say my favorite song is the very last song, and this is probably my last favorite, and it's the song Gravity. And this is funny enough, another song that's not produced by Clark D, but it's produced by Kid Class and Bobby Keys. And I just love the live instrumentation of this song. I love the gravity. I love the hook. I love the writing of the hook. The writing of the hook is so good. I could be your gravity. Oh, dude, I mean, it's so good. The melodies are super silky. Melodies are just like, oh my goodness, just give me some more of that. Love me some of that stuff. Give me more of that. But that concludes the project, and those would be my favorites. And just to go back through the project to name some other things that I think stand out sound-wise, but like I said, wouldn't necessarily be my favorite. I'd say Top Tier definitely has a standout sound. I would definitely say With You has a standout sound that is giving you more of like a very 90s boom bap style of rap or rap production presented there. So Wild and Free is a standout. I don't particularly care for the performance of that song, but I definitely think the production is a standout there. And then another song I would say is a standout, but not necessarily a favorite, is the song Make Me New and the song Move. So those are my favorite songs and some of the songs that also stand out to my ears. As far as my least favorite song, now, my least favorite song is the song Pray For Me. I really don't like this song. If you, like I said, if you listen to my Limo Blaze album review, you would know that I am not a fan of this overly produced version of Afrobeat. I think it just is so lifeless. I think it's so forced. It really does nothing for me as a listener, and it just serves as filler for the album. So I would say the song Pray For Me is one of those tracks where it might resonate with somebody out there. And in fact, I know for a fact it will resonate with somebody out there because the message of the song is great, right? But it's just like the production on this is just so lackluster, and I'm just not a fan of Pray For Me in any sort of way. And there's also a couple of, like, a lot of other songs on here that I'm not a fan of for the very same reason. And then I think there's also just some other rap cuts in here that I'm just not the biggest fan of because there's overproduction on certain other aspects of the projects. Like on the song Yahweh, you have Lord, you're worthy. Like, I'm not a big fan of that overly produced chorus part. I'm just not. Portia Love provides a great performance as a feature on that project. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't have too much to take away from that track. So my least favorite track would be Pray For Me. So next I want to talk about, is this album gospel-centered? And without a shadow of a doubt, this album is most certainly gospel-centered. This might be one of the most gospel-centered projects of the entire year. So if you're a person out there who purely looks for stuff that is completely gospel-centered, or it's just a presentation of the gospel, presentation of testimonial, presentation of how the gospel plays into our daily lives, this is something for you for sure. Now I'm going to give my score of the project. And you've heard me say a lot of nice things up until this point, except for the song Pray For Me and a couple other cuts on the project. But I got to be very honest with you guys about my score for this project. I would give this album a 4 out of 10. And you might say, why? How did you just say all the good things about this project and give it a 4 out of 10? Remember, this is an album. This is an album. This is not just a bunch of singles. This is an album, and the songs are sequenced in such a way, on purpose. There is deliberate intention to the runtime of the album, and also to other aspects of the album. So I am grading it as an album. Now, if I graded it as singles, I still would give it a 4 out of 10, because there's a lot of stuff on here that I don't care for. But I think one of the things that is just like, it doesn't, like, one of the things that this project really needed was to trim the fat. Really needed to trim the fat. Because this project checks in at 52 minutes long. It's 18 tracks, and there's just not 18 tracks worth of substance to keep you around with. So I don't think the runtime is justified with the quality and the quality of the content we're getting. And I think that you'll find yourself in multiple lulls where you'll be listening to this project, and then the next thing you know, an hour has passed by and the whole project's listened to it, and you didn't lock into anything because there was nothing to captivate you. I just fear that that's one of the things that this project suffers from. And I think where the project shines in a lot of respects is when it does introduce other producers. Like, I know Clark D is the main producer of this album, and he's the one who's definitely listed the most. But the tracks that are my favorite are, quite frankly, the ones that don't just have Clark D on production. It's the tracks that have different producers on them, because they contribute a different sound to the project and keep the sonics of this album interesting. Like, In the Light is an interesting sonic. All Around is an interesting sonic. Sin That, Heavenly, interesting sonic. Like, multiple interesting sonics. But so often it's just Clark D, and you can tell that the songs are being produced by the same guy. And also, I'm going to say this: I really do feel like, in a lot of respects, that you know, the Holvey project came after this, and if you look at the amount of producers on the Holvey project compared to the amount of producers on the Anike project, there's a significant amount more producers. There's a significant amount more writers on the Holvey project. Now, mind you, I don't think that's to say that they were intentionally trying to allocate all of their resources to that and not put as many on this. But I think that maybe instead of just putting all the eggs in the basket of the Holvey project, maybe we dedicate more resources to Anike to try and help her out with the sonics. Because I think with Anike's voice and rapping voice specifically and rapping style, it doesn't really lend itself to these longer run times. And I think where her, like I said earlier, where her artistic capabilities shine brightest is on songs that are more poppier, on songs that are more R&B style. Like the song Gravity is a beautiful song. That's one of my favorite songs from the years. I added that song to my playlist immediately. That song is excellent. Excellent. I wanted more of that. That's great. But I just think it didn't lend itself. And I think also another thing for me that weighs on me for giving this a 4 out of 10 is the fact that when I look at her previous project in 2020 Exit, there was so much to like about that project. It was short and sweet. If a song was like had a beat that was pretty not like there was no interesting ideas, what it would do to keep you interested is it would have a beat switch in the middle of the beat, or there'd be a feature thrown on it, so that it sounded sonically interesting and so that it kept your attention. But with this and the runtime being bloated out to 50 plus minutes, there is nowhere to, like, most people say that on a short runtime there's nowhere to hide. But let me tell you, if you don't have any new ideas and you're trying to make a 50 plus minute album review or album review, that's me. No, but if you're trying to make a 50 plus minute album, it's not like you're going to have nowhere to hide. And at some point, the lackluster quality for the tracks that pale in comparison to the greater tracks is going to start there's going to be a vast chasm that splits between those tracks. And that's why I felt with a lot of this project. And so I think Anike hit on some things that she can use as building blocks towards an amazing project with these pop ideas, and even with some of these slower R&B cuts, and even with the bangers, I thought there was some great ideas with Again and Again and Heavenly and Send It Up. But I think just for Anike, I would just say, I just think you just got to go back to the drawing board with this one and maybe just cut the fat out of the projects and not really think about bloating it out to these excessive run times. But those are my thoughts. Like I said, I think the project's a 4 out of 10. Maybe you feel differently. If you feel differently, please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite song? Was your favorite song Gravity, or was it another song? Or do you agree with me about the song Pray For Me, or was that your favorite song? Like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts and interact with you guys down in the comment section below. As always, guys, you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.